Guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you are a returning subscriber, thank you so much for coming back for another video once again. And if you're new here, my name is Olwethu, aka Shagalulu_. Do follow me on the socials. And this is a psychology of everything, where we talk all things psychology, mental health, and everything else in between. So I do really hope that you want to stay, and if you do, just hit that subscribe button and you instantly become a part of my family. In today's video, we're going to be talking about how to deal or cope with grief and loss. The reason why I decided to do this video actually was because of the current situation, not just in South Africa but in the world. The pandemic has taken so many of our loved ones, and I just want to be able to give you tips on how to help yourself and how to cope with the grief. Firstly, like, there is no universal way of dealing with grief and dealing with losing a loved one. I know that some of my psychology students will know the stages of grief, which is denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. Even though that's what we've learned, but there is no linear process when it comes to grief. You know, everyone deals with it their own way, and some people may feel depressed, some people might not feel the anger, and there's also things like shock and feelings of guilt as well that aren't mentioned on these stages of grief. And yeah, you know, there's just no universal way of dealing with it. Everyone's different, everyone's affected differently, and everyone behaves differently. So I will be giving you some tips on how to deal with grief. And you know, this is not necessarily like ways of trying to get over it, because grief is not something that you can get over. It's just a way of learning how to cope with it over time. And yeah, it's a very tough, very tough ordeal. It's not something that anyone deserves to go through, but you can definitely help yourself in coping. My first tip would be to not bottle your emotions, because they are valid. Your feelings are valid. What you're going through is valid. So it's very important to feel whatever that you're feeling. If you feel like crying, then cry. It's very dangerous to bottle up your emotions, because one day they're just gonna keep bottling up and you won't be able to deal with it. You'll just pop. And so just feel every emotion that you need to feel. It's okay, it's valid, you're allowed to feel that way. You've been through so much, and your life has literally changed completely. So yeah, definitely don't bottle your emotions up. Express yourself in whatever way you feel is right. My second tip would be to allow yourself to have those memories of you and your loved one. I think, you know, with my counseling experience, a lot of people will tell me that, you know, they just try not to think of the person, because it brings up feelings of like sadness, and they start to cry, and they just like feel down when they think about them. So they try everything to like distract themselves, to not think about their loved one. And you know, as like it you know, obviously you don't want to be crying and be down all the time, but it is really important to allow those memories to come up. And you can do that through, you know, going through old photos and scrapbooking, and even like writing a letter to the person and putting it somewhere where you feel is safe, or you can even bury the letter, you know. But it is important for you to allow yourself to have those memories. And my third tip would be, don't limit your grieving process time. I know like a lot of people in our lives will be like, oh, stay strong, oh, you'll be fine, you know, like give yourself time and everything like that. It is really important not to limit yourself, your mourning period. Don't limit your mourning period. If it takes you 10 years or 5 years or 5 months, 5 days, whatever, then allow yourself to go through that grieving process. You know, I think we tend to like want to be distracted by other things so that we can not think about what happened, but you know, the more you bottle things up and try to distract yourself in a negative way, then it will like show up in other ways in the long term run, you know. So it's important to deal with your emotions, to deal with whatever you're going through at the time, you know, at whatever time you feel is right. And you don't have to stop grieving or mourning after a month. You know, you can take your time, take all the time you need. And my fourth point would be to have a supportive structure, such as your family, your friends, and to also go to therapy. Therapy is an amazing way of coping with grief, and also having a support structure. I know a lot of times people tend to isolate themselves. I mean, it's okay to want to be alone. That's perfectly fine. But when you isolate yourself from people, then you know you start to possibly develop symptoms of depression, and you know you need that support structure. You need people around you. It's because you don't have to go through this alone. I think it makes it worse if you're isolating yourself, and you just need that support from family and friends, even though you might not really want it. But it is very important to not go through what you're going through alone. My fifth tip is to express yourself through art or journaling, whatever is your vibe. Definitely express yourself. So a lot of people will tend to, you know, like I said earlier, write a letter to your loved one, and you can journal as well your emotions and your daily life. And also through art, you know, if you're an artistic person, even if you're not, you know, if you just enjoy doing art and it brings you peace, then express yourself through art, and that could also be an amazing way of dealing with grief. My sixth tip would be to create your own ritual of remembering your loved one. So like I said, the letter writing thing, so you can write a letter or letters frequently, either once a week or once a month, as often as you want, and write a letter to the person, like updating them about your life and what's happening and how you're feeling, and keep it somewhere, either in a box or you can even bury it, as I said. And yeah, creating a ritual for yourself is really important because it keeps the memory of the person alive in your mind, and you validating your feelings and validating that this is what I'm going through, that I miss them. You know, it's okay. It's really okay to go through those emotions. And then my last tip would be just be patient with yourself. Please be patient with yourself. It's such a complex thing to go through, and it's something, like I said, that you never really get over. You just learn how to cope with it. I once saw a picture of, it was like a ball in a jar, and people think that grieving means that the ball is getting smaller in the jar. But what it actually means, grieving and bereavement, actually means the ball still stays the same size, but the jar keeps getting bigger. So it's not necessarily like you getting over it. You just learning how to cope with it. You know, I don't know if I'm making sense, but if I do find it, I'll attach the picture right here. But that explains a grieving process perfectly. And yeah, be patient with yourself, be kind to yourself, get that support from your family and friends, and do what you need to do to make sure that you're okay. So before I let you guys go, of course I'm not going to leave you without having any resources. So because especially, you know, not everybody knows that they can actually get professional help if they've lost a loved one, and they think that they just have to, you know, go through it alone. You never have to go through anything alone, because there's always help. So please do check my description box. I do have a few links and websites. So this is mainly just for extra support. I would still suggest that you do go to some form of therapy, either to a psychologist or a counselor. And you know, the links that I have put below are for extra support. So that brings us to the end of this video. if you are watching and you're going through this, I really do pray for your healing, and I hope that you also have the right support structure that you need. You really don't have to go through this alone. That's the worst thing that you can do for yourself, is to go through this alone. And if you don't have anybody, then please do, like I said, check the description box. All the details and links will be there. And if you need someone to talk to, then you can always DM me and I'll be there for you. So yeah, thank you so much for watching once again. Please don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button, and comment down below if you also have gone through this or are going through this. Please do also share what has helped you get through it and cope with grief. And please also share this video. It might help somebody out there that you know, so please do share it on your social media platforms. And I will see you in my next video.